Welcome back to Chilladelphia Sports Radio. And this week, all I heard was how Daniel Jones was going to beat the Eagles and how Philadelphia was going to be one and done. You know what I have to say to that? We're smoking on that Giants pack this week. Nobody can touch us. Nobody in this league can touch us. We are better. We were much better than that Giants team out there. It looked abysmal what they did on that field. Also, 5-year anniversary of 38-7 against the Vikings. We said, let's do it again. Let's do it again. We completely shut up everybody in the NFL, but the disrespect in the league is still going on. We'll get to all of that in this. Let's start off. What were your thoughts on that 38-7 blowout that the Eagles had this week?
We looked good. I liked it. I liked every bit of that beatdown that we handed them. I thought, Saquon was going to have a bigger game than he did, but when you're also stomping a team, you're able to then make them not be able to run the ball, which Saquon only had 9 carries for 61 yards. We had 268 alone as the Birds did on the ground. Kenny Gainwell, where was he all season? And now he stepped up. He had a big game. He had 112 on the ground. Miles had 90. We had a good game. Scott had a tutty. I think he had 30-some rushing yards, and Hurts had 30-some. We looked good. The defense looked solid. 5 sacks, forced Daniel Jones to throw a pick, which is no surprise there. Sirianni, dude, I'm loving him. We scored a tutty, and he's running into the end zone with the team, yelling at the security in the crowd going, I know what the F I'm doing. I'm right where I should be, whatever. That's a guy that has all my confidence, a huge leap as a coach, and he has all the guys behind him. This team's only going to get better, and, I'm excited for this week coming up with it because I didn't want no one to say, oh, had an easy road to the Super Bowl. Right now, we're about to face by far one of the best defenses, if not the best in the league. And no one's going to say, oh, well, you beat a 6th and 5th seed. And, I know Steve's going to like this. Steve, what do you think A.J. Brown was so upset with on the sidelines?
I think he just hurt himself, man. Honestly, I don't think he was necessarily upset. I mean, he's a team player, so and him and Jalen Hurts are best friends. Hurts is the godfather of his daughter, so I don't think they were fighting or nothing like that. I think he might have just pulled a hammy or something like that and was just frustrated about it, and that's it.
Yeah, I think AJ just kind of got a little tangled up. I think one of his targets, he went up for it and came down, and he got up a little slow. So I think he was just angry with himself more than with anyone else. He wished he could have done more for the team, but they didn't really need him to.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah, people will go and start a narrative saying that he's fed up with Hurts. Because that's what, right when that happened, that's what people were saying is, oh, he's fed up that he's not getting targets. We barely threw that game. We didn't really need to throw the ball towards the end. Like I said, we had 268 rushing yards. What I was happy about is the time of possession. We had 35-43. We went 10 of 14 on third downs, which was huge. I'm happy that the Eagles maybe overinvested too in their D-line and offensive line. Because, dude, we only gave up 1 sack. There was really no pressure on Hurts. We're getting 5 sacks in the playoffs. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, it was the Giants. The Giants, they shouldn't have even been a playoff team. It's the NFL playoffs. You come to play that ball game at the highest level that's possible. And I even said I was scared that, this could be a trap game, and we went out there and proved, wow, when we're healthy, we're a scary team to play.
I got to say, on last week's pod, I told all of y'all made some close game scores and everything. I said it was going to be 38-14. That was my prediction last week. And y'all said, "Oh, that's bold." I mean, 7 points off. That's pretty good.
What I was surprised about, I think that Lane Johnson had a big factor in this game. I mean, holding the Giants to, well, like you said, 1 sack. I mean, that's huge. I think it's going to be a good contest between him and Bosa. And I think that's the only part of the line that could really be exploited at this point, because he's not going to go to the other side and like try to go on to Mailata. Like, Lane Johnson is the weakest link in this line, which is not saying he's a weak link at all. A weak link at all.
Just
But him being hurt
injured
doesn't really, yeah. And I just don't think Bosa is going to really do anything this week. But then again, they also have the linebackers to come up and blitz as well. So it makes me nervous. The 49ers make me nervous.
I think we need to key in on the secondary. You know, like that's their weakest point of that whole defense. Is their strongest point is their pass rushing end. Obviously, Greenlaw and Fred Warner. Fred Warner is a cornerback, just a jacked cornerback who can play sideline to sideline. Like, this guy's an absolute freak. In that Dallas game, he was all over the field. He was absolutely destroying the running backs when they'd catch the ball out of the backfield instantly. They caught it and they're just nailed. Fred Warner, he's a scary player, and by far, I would have to say he is the best linebacker in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree with you. Fred Warner was really impressive in that game against Dallas. I know the one play, CD was in the slot on the right, and Fred Warner was lined up on the left side, and CD just ran a seam route, and Fred Warner got all the way up the field and deflected a pass that should have been an easy completion, maybe a touchdown if it was any other linebacker in the league. So, yeah, Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, them two together, it's crazy. And that's like the one thing that really scares me as an Eagles fan.
Are you talking about the play where T.Y. Hilton was frustrated?
Yeah, T.Y. Hilton and CD, they ran the same route.
Mm-hmm.
Fox's first read was CD, and
Yeah.
he didn't have time to make another read, so he just threw it.
Yeah, like T.Y. was wide open.
Yeah, it would have been an easy touchdown.
Yeah, well, that's Dak Prescott for you. You know what I mean? Jalen Hurts isn't going to make those mistakes this week. I can tell you that. A.J. Brown though needs a huge game.
Dude,
I'm gonna
also have a very, very shifty defense, dude, or offense. I mean, if you take notice, like, you see Brock Purdy calling a motion or several motions almost every play.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just hoping like that our defense doesn't get confused, because I know sometimes they really don't play their best, but that what we did against the Giants, dude, I think that defense is arguably the best in the league when healthy.
I gotta say, for this week's matchup, I think there's 2 mismatches that play in, one in our favor and one in San Fran's. And they will have Tre'Davious Ward, right? Pronouncing that right, correct? And lined up on A.J. Brown. They did it against Seattle. He was following DK all around the field. DK had a massive game. He followed, I believe, CD most of the game for Dallas. And CD didn't do like crazy, but he was solid at points. A.J. Brown versus Tre'Davious Ward is just going to be very, I think, play in our favor. But we flip to the other side of the ball where we're missing our nickel cornerback in Avonte Maddox. If we have either Reed Blankenship or C.J. Gardner-Johnson, they're going to try and get CMC or Deebo. Deebo loves to line up in that slot position. That's where he thrives, in that slot position. So if we're looking to where our mismatch, our like weaknesses, is that middle of the field. Our linebackers all year have struggled with a slot receiver going behind them. That's the only thing that worries me about the San Francisco 49ers. And don't get me wrong, like I said, like you guys said, Fred Warner's an absolute animal. But when you're going up against the best offensive line in all of football, you can really neutralize someone like Fred Warner. If you look back years ago when Luke Kuechly played, there were games that Luke Kuechly was not relevant because they were facing a good offensive line and a good scheme. Nick Sirianni has to come up with a game plan to get these guys out of the play. And that's going to involve Jalen Hurts running a lot more.
I think there's too many weapons to just necessarily say that. You don't. Of course, you're going to game plan for that, but at the same time, they're with Boston Scott, Gainwell, and Sanders in the backfield. With Jalen Hurts' legs, you got all of our wide receivers, tight ends, all producing. Who could guard all these guys? You know, like their defense is good. Don't get me wrong. This 49ers defense is good. But at the same time, like you can't game plan for 7 guys on the field that are probably gonna make a play every single time they have a chance to.
I love this matchup though. Go ahead, Steven.
I have to agree with you, Cam, because like we said in the beginning, the 49ers secondary really isn't that strong. And when we have dudes like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, like on the second play of that Giants game, Jalen Hurts threw a bomb to Devontae Smith. If we do things like that and just exploit that secondary, dude, I think we're going to be scoring a lot of points this game, man. I don't think it's going to be a low-scoring game at all. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game for Philly.
Yeah, I like this matchup a lot just because I know everyone basically was saying, oh, the Eagles didn't beat no one in the regular season, this and that. This is going to be the Eagles' toughest test up to date so far. Obviously, it's the NFC Championship, a ticket to the Super Bowl. You know, you have guys at CMC. I'd say probably one of the best running backs, and obviously one of the best, if not the best running back in the league. Deebo Samuel is a dual threat. Like if he plays running back too, he's insane. And then Elijah Mitchell, he's nothing either to take lightly. He's a good running back when they throw him in. But I think this is gonna be like Brock Purdy is gonna be woken up because, like with Dallas, DeMarcus Lawrence is good. Like he's an elite player as well, and so is Micah. But like Trent Williams is by far the best left tackle in the National Football League, in my opinion. And I think though you have so many guys to where we have Hargrave coming up the middle. The Eagles rarely blitz, you know what I mean, and it's going to be this D-line. Like, we led the league in sacks. Josh Sweat's going to have to step up. Everyone on Glowinski or whatever his name is, their right tackle. It's just going to have to be it's going to be an absolute dogfight. I don't see any team like really necessarily blowing it, like having a big blowout of a game. But I think Brock Purdy, like this is going to be a huge challenge for him. And if he beats Philly, by all means, then whatever, he deserves it because the Eagles – I'd say probably San Fran and the Eagles, it can go either way with who the best defense in the league is. But, you know, CJ Gardner-Johnson played really well in the slot. And I know Cam was saying about Maddox coming back this week earlier. Even if Maddox doesn't come back, I am fully invested that CJ Gardner-Johnson can be our nickel corner this week, and we still have a dominant game. Our defense is nothing to mess with. Like, that's where CJ was, bro, before he even transitioned to safety, as he was a nickel corner. You know, so he's fully ready to take on that role. And, you know, it's just the defense that San Fran has, you know, D'Amico Ryan's leading that charge as their defensive coordinator. He's easily going to go and get a head coaching gig after this season, easily. But, you know, we're 14-20-1 all time against San Fran. We're 5-11-1 when we play them in Philly. So it's going to be, you know, the odds aren't really looking good for us right now. But I know we're 2.5 favorites, and they have the total over under points at 46 for this week. So it's gonna be a hell of a game, and I can't wait for that. Tickets to the Super Bowl, and Philly, you better not let me down on my birthday here. What better birthday present than getting a ticket to the Super Bowl? So.
How you just said about the favorite, dude, I found an interesting stat earlier. It says Jalen Hurts is 20-3 as the favorite straight up in NFL starts, by the record being 20-1 or something like that. So, or minimum 20 starts in the Super Bowl. Or wait, I can't even see it. Jalen Hurts is 20-3 as the favorite straight up in NFL starts, and that is the best record by any quarterback, minimum 20 starts in the Super Bowl era.
Yeah, he's 15-1 at the start of this year. So I mean,
the one loss was a fluke. That was a fluke.
Yeah,
we would have went undefeated if the NFL didn't. Their officiating, if they just called the actual proper game and called it along the lines, that Taylor Heineke sack, that should have just been a sack, and that's BS. Officiating, there should be a little more like whatever. Like in high games like that, dude, divisional games, like you got to make the right calls.
Yeah, but at the same time, we've seen that in the NFL. In regular season games, there's a bunch of games that there's just a lot of missed calls. But in the playoffs, by the time the playoffs come, usually that stuff's sorted out, and you don't really see that as much.
Yeah, they let a lot more like leeway in the playoffs. So yeah, I can see that we better not get screwed over. I'm telling you that right now. Goodell, you better not have the script written that Philly loses this game.
Yeah, I think the main thing that's going for the Eagles is the games at home, though.
Yeah.
We'll have fans. The fans will be right behind the team. And
yeah,
I think that'll be huge.
What's your guys' take on basically the NFL screwing like Sirianni out of a head coach of the year? Like he got snubbed out of that. We were all talking about this earlier. It feels like the Eagles guys, Reddick wasn't even mentioned in Defensive Player of the Year. It feels like we're always getting snubbed. Now, I guess our only hope is that they don't go and have Mahomes down their throat yet again and give him an MVP, which is probably going to happen. But
I think Mahomes definitely deserves MVP this year. He had by far the best year as a quarterback, which it's a quarterback at this point. So I think he definitely deserves it. Plus, Jalen missed those 2 games, which puts a damper on his chances. So
I think if he stayed in that, then there was a chance that it would have went like 9, like the votes would have went like he would have lost by like 2 or 3 votes instead of.
I think Jalen still has a chance.
Yeah,
I don't think he will win it, but he still has a chance. If he would have played those games and the Eagles would have won, only had 1 loss in the season, yeah, he definitely would have won MVP.
He'll be runner-up.
Yeah, at this point, they have to give it to Mahomes.
I think the thing is for me is the award's called the Most Valuable Player Award. I understand it's turned into a quarterback award, but it's the most valuable player. What player can you not win without? And the games that Jalen Hurts missed, we lost both of them. It didn't look pretty at all. And that's the whole point of the award is if you took a player away, can you still win? And that's the one player that I feel like proved to, like, while being out was you can't win without him. And he has the numbers for it. I understand that 2 games hurts him. But, like, at the end of the day, I know who's going to get the award. It's going to be Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow, because those are the 2 that the NFL loves to dick ride out here. And, Jalen Hurts is very worthy of this award. And in my eyes, just like when it comes to the NBA with Embiid, that man's the MVP. In my eyes, Jalen Hurts is the MVP this year.
Yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying, Bubbles. And I think we could all agree that without Hurts, the Eagles would not be where they are right now.
100%.
But that's just how the award is nowadays. It's not who's the most valuable to our team. It's who puts up the best stats throughout the year. So.
And at this point, honestly, how could you not give it to Mahomes? And we're all Eagles fans here, I know that, but the things that Mahomes is doing, dude, how could you not give him the award at this point?
It's a fair point, to be honest with you. Bubbles is a family show. There's no need for that kind of language. But I want to talk about something else. So Purdy and Hurts played in college, right? When Hurts was with Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That was an extremely high scoring game. I think it was 42-41 or something like that.
I think it was
The numbers
maybe in
that
the 50s.
were ridiculous. I mean, the teams were even similar. I mean, Hurts had CeeDee Lamb and a very good line. Like, it's similar to the Eagles. And then Purdy also had a threat at wide receiver. I forget the guy's name, but he was like similar to Debo. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts on what happened in the past. Does that translate to what's going to go on Sunday?
You know, say Nick Saban. I like Brock Purdy a lot because a guy who Nick Saban said when he came in to visit Alabama, he was like, "You're below average in height. You're a D3 starting quarterback or a D3 quarterback at best." He went and proved everyone wrong, but I don't necessarily think that it transfers over to the NFL. Like, I think both of those guys realize, hey, we had an absolute dogfight in college, and Hurts' team came out on top. Purdy's stats looked a lot better in that game, but I mean, that was passing. Like, Hurts had a really good rushing game in that. I think it's going to be a dogfight again. Yeah, but I don't think it transfers over necessarily because in college, you see a lot of games to where they're high scoring games, stuff like that, so it can go either way. This game is going to be the one that both games you want to tune in for it. There's history with Burrow and Mahomes to where they're the new. It used to be Josh Allen. Everyone thought it would be Josh Allen and Mahomes, and now it's Mahomes and Burrow. And I hope Joe Shiesty pulls that out. And now it's going to be, who knows, in this era now, it might be Purdy and Hurts. And Purdy's by far going to probably get that starting gig next year because they were saying unless Trey Lance takes a huge leap in camp or Brock Purdy degresses in camp, that Brock Purdy's named the starter already going into next season. You can't take away what he's done. And I would never go and let off the gas pedal and bench him. There's no way I would do that. So
I agree with you, dude. Like you said, you can't take away what he's done, but I do think that this week is going to be Brock Purdy's biggest test just because they're playing in Philly. The Super Bowl's on the line. If he comes into Philly and handles this pressure phenomenally, then I will have high praise for Brock Purdy. But I don't think that's how it's going to be, honestly. I mean, Brock Purdy's good, don't get me wrong, but I just think that Philly defense is going to, and the crowd and everything like that is just going to be too much for him, man. He's a rookie. You know what I mean? He doesn't have a lot of playoff experience, and neither does Jalen Hurts, but Hurts is he's a leader. You know what I mean? Like how the head coach said, man, how he reminds him of Michael Jordan. He didn't mean like GOAT status like that. He just meant like a leader mentality. Like I see people saying, how could you compare him to Michael Jordan? How could you say this and that? He wasn't comparing him to Michael Jordan. He was just saying like as a leader, he reminds him of Michael Jordan. And it's true. He really is a leader.
I think the main difference between the Iowa State and Oklahoma game compared to this is defense. Defense is a huge role here because you have the top two defenses in the NFL going head to head right now. And in college, like Iowa State, they're not good. But they, they had a good run against Oklahoma, and Oklahoma that season was okay. They weren't amazing. They weren't, blowing it up on defense either. So both defenses were struggling, and if if say, a couple players maybe get injured or are off of the field at the time, maybe we get a high scoring game. I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as 42-41. I think it's going to be falling somewhere in the low 30s, high 20s, but I don't see it being a blowout. I don't see it being one-sided at any point in this game. I think it's going to be close. It's going to be a nail biter, and I think in the fourth quarter, that's when we're going to see either team take a step and bring the intensity. And I think that's going to be Philadelphia, because once that fourth quarter hits, that crowd is not going to let up. They are going to be relentless. They are going to let San Fran hear it. And I don't know if Brock Purdy is ready to be trying to make calls in a stadium that is deafening against him. So, that's been an issue before, is quarterbacks struggling to get the calls in, offensive linemen struggling to hear the count. That's going to play a role this week, especially with a quarterback who is so inexperienced in Brock Purdy. Don't get me wrong, he's done amazing things throughout playoffs, but he's been home. He hasn't had to travel, and the 49ers are traveling across the country. They're changing time zones just to come in, and they're changing weather. Philadelphia is going to be cold when they come to town. San Fran is normally,
50 degrees on Sunday. Surprisingly,
that might be the best option, best
global warming
thing for them. Yeah, honestly, but it's still it's probably 20 degrees colder than what they're dealing with in San Fran, if not more. So I think San Fran is going to rely on a heavy run attack, and they're not going to throw the ball as much as they did in the past few games, because I think they're going to realize this defense is not what they've been playing the past 2 weeks. The Cowboys, proved to America that defense is not that good, especially with Trevon Diggs at corner, and Micah's good, but he can't carry a whole defense. He changes the perspective of things, but he does not change a whole defense. And San Fran proved that. They only had one touchdown that game, or two. They didn't go off. I think Philly has a golden opportunity to punch their ticket in this game, and I don't think they're going to let it slip. I do not think they're going to just let it fumble through their hands.
Yeah, San Fran didn't really look that good against Dallas at all. And what you were saying earlier about Hurts, about him being like a leader and stuff, what guy in their second or third year is going and recruiting A.J. Brown? And without him recruiting A.J.,
yeah.
They go and they let him, after the big wins and stuff, they have the whole locker room gather around him, and he just goes and talks. Like he said, he's not hungry, he's starving.
He's starving.
Yeah, he was sitting there in front of the whole team. I don't see Brock Purdy getting up there and telling his whole team, listen, you know what I mean? Hurts always, and that's why I liked him when we drafted him. He just always had that killer mentality, that dog mentality that was, hey, I'm not settling for anything less than a winning organization. We're going to go and play at a high level. I'm truthfully ready this week because, like Bubble said, this is a week that you can go and take advantage of. That Dallas San Fran game, I expected Dallas to win because of ratings with the Eagles but San Fran, if anything, I thought San Fran would have blown them out, and they didn't. It was that game could have went either way, and I think if Tony Pollard did not get hurt in that game, that it would have been a Dallas-Philly NFC Championship game, because the whole aura of that game changed once Pollard went down. Their second half rushing just tanked. It was absolutely horrible. And if we just had 268 on the ground, that's something that, they're not just keying in on our pass game. They're not just going to be, all right, locked in on the Eagles pass game. They're going to be going and saying, wow, the Eagles just ran for 268 on the ground. And the Giants D line isn't nothing to play with either. They're a good D line.
Dexter
On the inside, you have Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams, two big boys that I'm surprised we ran that good. And I'm fully invested in this game to see, is it going to be Hurts taking control? Is it going to be Miles Sanders and company going and doing their thing? I don't think Jalen Hurts gets a lot of credit where it's due for the leap. Like, I know everyone says, oh, he's done good things, but he's still not even getting ranked in people's top 5 quarterbacks in the league. Like, they're still putting like Trevor Lawrence and stuff above him. Don't get me wrong. Trevor Lawrence is going to probably be the next Peyton Manning. Maybe. It depends. Like, it's a hard AFC conference, but like the way he plays, like he could be the next Peyton Manning. But Jalen Hurts went from 21st in completion percentage. He went 21st in completion percentage last year with 61.3 to second this year with 66.5. Like, the guy's accurate this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's making good reads. And that's what I mean when I said earlier, like, when we fully invested in our line, like, it's not like when Jalen, his first season, when he came in for Wentz, he was getting blitzed and he was just hurried. Like, he was having to make those undesirable throws. Like, all right, I just have to toss this up, or I got to make a play all the time. Now he doesn't only need to make plays with his legs because he's getting hurried out of the pocket. He's a very good pocket passer as well. And, like, we'll see that this week. Like, this is his biggest test known to man. So we'll see if that 15-1 record in the regular season really is there.
I think it's a test for both quarterbacks. And somebody else, dude, that I don't think gets credit enough when it's due is Skinny Smith. Because he just dominates these corners, dude. He's literally like 10 feet in front of these corners every time they hit him on a deep ball. How can you not give this kid the respect that he deserves? He is a top 12, if not 10, receiver in his second year this year. I don't care what anybody says. I'll argue with anybody.
I 100% agree with that take. I think it helps that he has weapons around him. Don't get me wrong. I think that's a huge play, because if he was alone and he was like a CeeDee Lamb kind of thing out in Dallas, I don't think he would be putting up the same numbers. But yeah, I 100% agree with you, Steve.
How could you not at this point?
I'm interested to see how Philly works their pass game into this game, because we saw last week San Fran, they played their corners very soft. They played them like really like almost 10 yards deep, and CD had 10 catches for 117 yards, and most of those receptions were on throws 5 yards or less. So I think the Eagles, they could take advantage of that. They could send AJ Brown on his patented slant route, Devontae on comeback routes. I think they should look for that a lot, because this San Fran D, they just sit back and they wait for their front four to get to the quarterback. That's all they do. If we could get the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands early and often, I think that's how they're going to win this game, because San Fran's D is number 1 against the rush, and the Eagles are the number 1 rushing team. So obviously that's going to be the storyline for both teams going into this. It's just how are the Eagles going to incorporate the passing game is honestly the biggest factor, in my opinion, to how they're going to win the game.
With Smitty, what I like about, because I didn't really believe in Smith like that, but also there's a factor that comes and plays in that. Like Cam said, maybe if he was in where he was just a number 1, he wouldn't be putting up these numbers. But how I look at it is, as a number 2, he's putting up these numbers to where, what if he was an actual number 1? He'd be getting more targets, more looks, but then also they'd be keying in on him a little more. But what's good about having these weapons around him, especially A.J. Brown and Quez Watkins, he's no joke either. Like, he's also like a number 2 or 3 on any team that he'd play for. But
he needs to get a little better though, man. He misses a lot of catches, dude, that he should grab. Honestly,
but my thing is iron sharpens iron. These two guys, A.J. Brown and Smith, they sharpen, they boost one another's games, and that's what I mean. When you have that competitor on the other side of you, you're gonna go and say, "I'm gonna raise my game because if he has a bad game, then I have to step up and have a 10 times better game than I was projected to have." And this week, it's again like Ethan said, when they're playing 10 yards off of CD Lamb, like they don't have like Dallas doesn't really have like that explosive like deep ball receiver. CD, yes, but they don't have like that Gallup, like T.Y. Hilton, that one catch he had against Philly. But besides them, they don't have that really explosive guy that all right, he's going to have a step on me. Mike Gallup's a jump ball guy. T.Y. Hilton, he's getting up there in age, but he's also, if you press him off the line of scrimmage, no offense to T.Y., but he's not really getting off of those. With Smith and A.J., you would think that A.J. Brown wouldn't be as fast as he is, but he really is. Like, he's a fast, good, hell of a route runner to where, like Ethan, with that Keenan in on his patent slant route, that slant route's deadly. And if you're playing 10 yards off of him, wow. But coming across the middle with Greenlaw and Warner, we better be ready to take some hits. And I'm happy that we're all healthy and that this team, there's no excuses to why we lose this game. Lane Johnson, I know Lane's hurting, but dude, we need you. We need you this game to step up against Bosa because did Bosa lead the league in sacks? So this game, you got to step up because he's going to be trying to eat you alive. And I know in the first quarter of that Giants game, Johnson was holding that groin heavy, man, but he stuck it out. If you can go and get us this win, you get another week off for the Pro Bowl. So basically 2 weeks up until you play the Super Bowl. So we need this win out of you and then go and get healthy and then let's win a Super Bowl and go and get that surgery in the offseason.
I think what we're going to see early on in this game against San Fran is we're going to see Nick Sirianni air the ball out. I think he's going to try and attack San Fran where they have shown weakness because that rush defense is insane because of the guys in the middle of the field. But I think he's going to try and target A.J. Brown early and deep. I think he wants to get Philadelphia into that game as soon as possible because the louder that stadium is, the harder it's going to be for San Fran to score and try and drive. I think they're going to try and take advantage of San Fran runs a lot of cover 2 man, and they like to run a lot of those blitzes and zone blitzes. And the thing is with zone blitzes is there's a lot of holes. So I can see them taking advantage of, maybe Devontae Smith running a curl route or an in, and A.J. Brown going over top.
Is Hurts going to be ready, though, for this, for the blitz? What do you think there? You think he's going to be ready to face the blitz and the pressure?
I think what we're going to see here is we're not going to see what we did against the Giants. 1 sack will not happen. I believe that San Fran will have 3-4 sacks in this game. You're going to see San Fran is one of the best teams in disguising that blitz. There is only one other team that I kind of like a little bit better, which is the Bengals and Mike Hilton. Mike Hilton off the edge is phenomenal because he disguises blitzes so well. But I was watching the film for San Fran earlier today, and they'll have 3 guys coming off of the left side. And it will look like it's going to be Fred Warner and Bosa or whatever. And then on the backside, they'll have like an outside linebacker 2 yards outside of the tackle. And as soon as the ball snapped, he's running inside to like the 1 technique or 3 technique, and Fred Warner and the other linebacker are dropping back. That's the same play that T.Y. Hilton was wide open that you guys were talking about earlier. They ran that. They ran 2 linebacker blitz on the left side, but they faked it and ran the outside linebacker on the other side.
I think I know the play you're talking about. When it was against Dallas, I watched that play. There was a highlight of wasn't it? I don't know if it was Dan or Vlosky who was saying that that's how you should read that, but how they stack the left side
Yep.
and then they'll have somebody just shoot in like Tafunga or someone.
Yeah.
That guy's he's gonna be a up and coming safety in this league.
That's my only worry is how good they disguise it. But I feel like our offensive line is extremely smart, especially with Jason Kelce. So I think 3 or 4 sacks is reasonable.
Definitely.
Do you think they're going to have?
Blitz more.
Do you think they're going to
Well,
have more of a QB spy kind of look?
Yeah, definitely.
Like a double
they
I
should.
think it
Definitely.
depends. I think it really depends because if they're getting hurt in the pass game early on in this game, I think early on they're going to have like, of course, Fred Warner in the middle of the field, and I can't pronounce that other name, but
Greenlaw.
no, not Greenlaw. What's his name?
Tafunga.
Yeah, Tafunga. He's most likely going to be a quarterback spy early on in this game.
Yeah.
But if they can hit the deep ball early and often, I think that San Fran's going to have to abandon the quarterback spy just to drop more into coverage. And that's going to cause issues because Jalen Hurts, if he doesn't see something downfield, he's just going to run. And there's not many guys that are able to just outrun Jalen Hurts. And if they do, he's just going to he'll juke. He'll break your ankles and not have a care in the world.
I think we'll
Does
see a
that
lot of
concern you guys
sacks.
by any chance? Like,
I think what we'll have is just a lot. We'll have sacks to where it's like Green or Warner because, like I said, he's like, dude, he's as fast. He might be as fast, if not faster, than Jalen Hurts. Like the guy's a 90 speed on that.
I think he's faster.
Yeah, and like when Hurts runs, dude, and he's like holding the ball, he's like slower up until he gets upfield, like behind. I think we'll see a sack or just a couple like throwaway balls that they see Hurts going and taking out with it, and Warner just darts right at him, which could be a good like if they would play it right to have Hurts necessarily like roll out of the pocket and have a guy in the backfield like Sanders who would come out and as the QB spy would
as like a lead
break, yeah, like fake block, but then he runs out of the backfield, like as the QB spy starts chasing Hurts, and then Hurts goes like that. But it's easier said than done, you know.
I don't want to give Shanahan any ideas here, but this would be a good idea for them to do because they could run a stunt with Bosa and their linebackers as a fake QB spy. And that's what I'm worried about. The linebackers hitting Hurts because they could light people up. You know, if they come up and shoulder check him, man, I don't know. He would say he was playing on 70-75% healthy last week.
Yeah.
To me, it looked like he was healthy. I mean, he took off a couple times, and a couple times he slid like for obvious reasons. But then other times he would lower his shoulder and take a hit and get an extra 2 or 3 yards. So I think he's feeling fine, but he definitely doesn't want to get hit by these guys this week.
Yeah, he didn't get so banged up last week.
Yeah, he only took a couple shots.
I also think that a huge part of this game, and I hate to say it, is what these refs think. There were a few calls last week when I was watching that Dallas 49ers game that in the rule book here, according to the NFL, would be a roughing the passer. They lit up Dak Prescott at times. And it would be a full almost second and a half, 2 seconds after he releases that ball, he's getting hit. In the NFL, that's supposed to be a roughing the passer. We're supposed to be protecting the quarterbacks. So if they do not call those, I think you're going to hear it from Philadelphia, no matter if we win or lose this game. But San Fran's a physical team, and they're going to match our physicality because that's something Philadelphia prided themselves all year. I don't know if you've seen some of the blocks that A.J. Brown was putting out there. He looked like a lineman / tight end.
He's huge, dude. He has the build to be a fucking linebacker or a beat linebacker.
He was driving people 10, 15 yards Landon Dickerson has been doing it all season. This offensive line is just insane with their intensity, and everyone else also follows up with that. So I think it's going to be a very intense battle, but we got to protect the quarterbacks if they're like, it's got to be both sides, because I know earlier this year, like the Washington game, some other games we've gotten rough in the passer calls, and the same hit happens on Jalen Hurts and it's not being called. So we got to keep it even, especially in a championship game. Goodell, don't screw us out of this one. Let it be a fair fight. That's all I'm saying there.
We'll wrap up with the Eagles there if you don't have anything else to go with. I know the Panthers interview with our offensive coordinator, Shane Steichen, didn't go as planned. That's all I got for the Eagles. You guys got anything else with the Eagles?
I'm gonna just say the only way the Eagles are losing, like we said, preseason, last season, in the middle of this season, the only way we're losing is if Jalen Hurts doesn't show up. If Jalen Hurts makes mistakes, I don't see them winning. But he's shown us all year that he's MVP caliber, and he's just got to show up one more time.
He's not hungry, dude. He's starving.
Exactly.
Starving himself.
Yeah, go Birds, and Hurts needs to step up. Ethan, anything with the 76ers? I know they got the Nets tonight in prime time, right?
Yeah, it should be a good one. We don't know if Joel Embiid's playing yet. He's still listed as questionable. He's going to be a game time decision. So
yeah, I read he's expected to play in this game.
Yeah,
but he'll be limited and Montrezl won't get more.
I think it should be an easy one for them. Kevin Durant, he's still out with a sprained MCL, but Kyrie Irving's been playing great. He's been carrying the team. The Nets, they're fourth in the East. They are 29-17. And the Sixers are one game ahead of them, 30-16. They're at second place, so it's a really important game. They got to win. But since our last podcast, they only played 2 games, and they won both of them. They wrapped up their 5-game road stretch with all 5 dubs, so that's great. And their last one against a tough Kings team. The Kings are third in the West right now.
They're actually playing really good, the Kings, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Sixers beat them without Joel Embiid or James Harden. So I found that really impressive. So we'll see what they do tonight. Hopefully come out with another dub. Move to
Simmons is playing, right?
Yeah.
Is this in Philly, right? Or is this in – yeah, this is in Philly. Oh, wow.
I hope they're throwing shit at him, dude. I'm serious.
We saw last time – well, the first time – this year, the Nets came to Philly. Honestly, the crowd, they were into it like pregame and like for the first quarter. But after that, they didn't like every time Simmons touched the ball, they'd boo. But other than that, they weren't really like yelling that much. Like as much as you'd expect a Philly crowd too.
Now, what I read is shout out Dave and Adams. They're giving away a free Ben Simmons autograph the rest of the season anytime he doesn't hit a 3. So up until Ben Simmons hits a 3, they're gonna stop giving them away. So
he ain't hitting a 3 for the rest of the year.
For maybe the rest of his career.
Yeah, possibly his life.
But yeah, shout out Dave and Adams for a little bit. They mentioned that, and I think they're saying that in Philly right now too. They were in pregame. They were mentioning that to the crowd while Simmons was warming up. They were saying over to Jumbotron, hey, we're giving away a free Ben Simmons autograph anytime, any game he doesn't hit a 3, register now. So just getting it into his head a little bit, you know what I mean? But I expect Embiid to play this game. Even though he's a game time decision, they're saying he's expected to play. And I mean, I think he wants to see a little bit of choppiness between him and Simmons, you know?
Big game, dude. You need your big time guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like you were saying with Simmons, hopefully they get him on the free throw line in the second half, and that crowd will be going crazy for free Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
Do we get that even if we're not there?
No, I think you need a ticket.
Oh man, or the whole world would be on Simmons for that. You know what I mean?
Oh, sorry, Steve. No nuggets tonight.
Nah, dude, that sucks.
Anything
But,
else with the
I
Sixers?
think the Sixers win this game even without Embiid. I mean,
Yeah.
Montrezl Harrell, he's been playing good.
He's been playing really good, dude. Yeah.
Anything left with the Sixers, Eth?
I think that's all we got for now. I guess we'll see next week how this week goes. I believe they have 4 games this week. So, yeah, it would be interesting to see how they prevail.
Going off of the Sixers, what do we got this week, Cam, with the Phillies? I know you had a few things you wanted to say.
All right, so the MLB Network came out with the top 10 list for the first baseman, and Rhys Hoskins was at number 10 on that list. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I love Rhys Hoskins. Don't get me wrong. Anthony Rizzo is a better first baseman. He should have been at 10. But I'll take it all day. It is what it is. So the Phillies, they're coming up to spring training. I think their first game is a month from today. So it is the most wonderful time of year. We got the Super Bowl coming up, baseball starting, basketball coming up on the All-Star break. It's going to be fun. It's going to be rocking in Philly.
Bunch of good UFC fights coming too.
Hell yeah, Steve. Hell yeah.
I know you
Plug
can't
in
wait
UFC.
for that, buddy.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I guess we'll wrap up with Chilladelphia episode 4. Or do you got anything left, Cam, with the Phils?
No, just excited. That's all.
All right.
Go Birds.
Stay
Go
tuned in. Go
Birds.
Birds.
Go
And
Birds.
we got the Fade shooting tomorrow. That should be out by Friday. This should be out by tonight or tomorrow. NBA podcast coming soon and UFC one as well. Stay tuned. Thank you
This
all
is
for
coming
viewing.
soon too. Number 2.
Ball, baby.
Go Birds.